All right, we're live. So you better behave, Jason. Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Craft, here with my husband, Jason.
Hello.
And we are going to draw and paint one of these cute little chickadees. So if you haven't had a chance to vote in the poll yet, please vote for one of these, the one facing right or the one facing left. And that's the one we're going to work from. We'll start with a pencil sketch, then we're going to do some inking, and then we're actually going to draw some of the ink around with our water brush before we finally paint with watercolors. As we go along today, if you have any questions for me, just type the word question in all caps and then your question with normal upper and lowercase letters so YouTube doesn't kick it out thinking it's spam. And Jason will ask me the question live on the spot. I'm really excited for this. I think it's going to go really well. And that way we won't have the big breaks of dead air for those watching the replay. If you have a question after the live stream, you are more than welcome to post it in the comments below the video. And I will get back to you via text, via my poor typing with lots of typos. But so there's a benefit to watching live. No typos, no typos. All right, so we'll give a couple seconds for the poll to catch up. Please let me know if you can hear and see my desk and hear my voice. That would be great. Straighten my mat up a little bit there. Hopefully everyone can see and hear me, or see my desk anyway. And what is the poll saying right now?
Oh, 63 for the facing right.
Okay, 63 for facing right. It's getting closer. It was more for the right before. Uh, Hello everyone. No, it's so nice to see so many people in chat. We got 79 people with us right now. That is awesome. This one, hopefully my camera screen isn't flipped around. Let me look on your, it's not flipped around for you, is
I
it?
have it paused.
Oh, can you hit play on yours? I just want to make sure that like my camera's not flipped around and then everyone's voting for one and I'm like gonna paint the other one. Plus my right and left, my grasp on right and left is dicey at best on any given day. And I don't know, do we mean my right or left or the bird's right or left? I'm talking my right or left and your right or left. Yeah, it's the same way.
Could have just numbered the picture.
I should have I should have numbered the pictures. See, I need to get him in on the planning phase a little bit earlier, I think, than 5 minutes before the live stream. Okay, so all right, I think the rights have it. I think the rights have it. So that's this guy right here. Now, as far as background, I think we're going to actually use a combination. I love the colors in this blurry background, and I like the maple leaves that we can see here. So what I want you to identify is that the bird is darker than the background. So as we're going along, we're going to want to make sure our bird is darker. And I have these photos linked up in the video description. So if you want to print it out for yourself, make it larger, zoom in, any of that stuff, you can do that on your computer as well. So let's start off by sketching with a pencil or with I wonder if I should use a pencil or I should use one of those heat erasable pencils. I think I'm going to use a regular pencil because I don't want to. Do you know with the heat erasable pencils, if you put them in the freezer, they'll come back, or if it gets really cold. So I don't. I don't want to. I want to deal with that now. So this one's facing the right. The right is ahead. They're both very close though, but the right is ahead.
Take the other one away.
Probably ought to. Yeah. Here, I can't be trusted. Okay, so I want to start. Yeah. Let's put a branch. Just very lightly sketching the branch because I'll probably need to change it a little bit once we get our bird in. I'm going to start with a circle to represent the body. And if anybody has a question, just when I stop talking, just ask me. That would great. Then another circle for the head. So it looks like we got a little snowman sitting on a branch here. We're going to connect the head to the body. We are going to add a little bit of just a protrusion for the wing. Then we're going to line it up on the other side and do the same. We can see this one coming lower because he's kind of tilted, and also we can see more of the wing here than we can see on the other side.
It sounds like you have Some people interested in what a heat erasable pencil is.
A heat erasable pen. It's the friction pens. You can get them in a variety of different colors. They're a ballpoint pen. They just, well, I'll show you. I'll show you on the tape here. So there it is. And then if I hit it with the heat tool, it erases. See, isn't that crazy?
Oh,
But it will come back if it gets really cold. And I live in Maine, so I'm kind of like, there's a chance that I would have my stuff in the back of my van getting ready for a craft fair or something, and then all those pen lines would come back out because it was in my car overnight or something. So I don't want to have that. I don't want to leave that to chance. Okay, boy, this bird's a little pudgy. I am going to drop the branch a little bit. That's why I put the branch on really light. I had a feeling I was going to have to drop it. The supplies we're using today are the same supplies as we're using in my new class, Line and Wash Fall Favorites. So if you have any questions about that class, you can ask me that as well. I'm just getting that little line in there, the center of the belly. I'm gonna put a little, I guess it's probably a upper leg or hip, but just a little bump for that. And I'm gonna put the leg coming out from that. And then just almost looks like the end of a broom, like a witch's broom for the foot for right now. And let's see, the body's a little bit slanted, so I want to make sure I have the body slanted here and maybe thin it out a little bit there. And then we're just seeing this foot right in front of the body. We're not really seeing the leg on this side so much. So I'm just going to put like a little, oh, I don't know, kind of like a comma shape there. And then I'm going to put the branch back in now that I've got an idea of where I want it. Like that little knot on the branch. So I'm going to throw that in there too and just bring it right off the page. I don't want it to go right off into the corner, so I'm bringing it up a little bit higher. And then we can see the tail. Oh, I should have had this up a little bit higher, but that's all right. Look at the tail back there, kind of going off the page a little bit. So you might want to draw yours up a little higher than I did mine, but that's all right. I don't want to move it up. Okay, so we got the eyeball is going to be kind of smack dab in the head right there. And then the beak is going to go off the side of the head a little bit. I just want to flatten the top of the head off a little bit. Now, if you are taking my class, Line and Wash Fall Favorites, there is a pattern for everything that we do. So we do the draw along, but then there's also a pattern. So you don't have to, if you're not comfortable with the drawing, you don't have to do the drawing. This is a very well-fed bird. And I'm going to put the indication for the little white, because it's a little black cap chickadee. And then the black kind of comes along here. I feel like that's out a little bit. I'm gonna bring that in a little bit too. I feel like that's out a little far. I use a white plastic eraser to erase all of this when we get to the point where we're gonna paint.
just watching some chickadees in the backyard a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
trying to fight the squirrels for their food.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going in and erasing any spare lines that I know I don't need.
What size lead do you have in your mechanical pencil?
This one I believe is a 0.7 or oh 07. You know how they have like 5, 7s, and 9s typically? It's a 7. All right, so now I'm going to grab my pen. I'm going to start off with a 3, a 0.3. That's the size I use most. If I have my hand in the way, I may just go with a bigger one and use it at an angle, but we'll start with this and see how we go. I now it's not a perfect drawing yet. I'm not I could actually zoom in a little bit. That might be helpful. Do that over, zoom in a bit and then put that on the screen. I am also going to be looking back and forth between my my photo as I ink. So that way, if I do have any errors that I didn't catch before, I can catch them at this point. And I'm also doing details like these little tiny pin feathers here over the beak. I'm going to redefine any shapes that I don't think are quite where they should be. If you want to use a template, you can for the eye. I'm gonna just mask out a little area, just draw, not mask, but draw around a little highlight and fill in the eye.
Good question. Have you ever used the Blackwing pencil sharpener?
I have not.
Trying to find one that doesn't break my Derwent or Caran d'Ache pencils.
My best now, I didn't have the best result last week when I used this because I broke a lead on the first one, but it was an issue with the pencil and not my sharpener. But I like this one from AFNAT. It does the jumbo ones, it does 6 millimeter all the way to 12. So it will do your skinny Prismacolors and ChromaFlows all the way up to your, chunky mega pencils. So this is what I use. It's around $30, but it's been on sale like for around 25. But that one works really well, and it is a plug-in one. I know they make a rechargeable option. They actually reached out and asked if I wanted to review that one, but I haven't gotten back to them yet because I don't know how many pencil sharpeners do we need to see reviewed. But I have used a couple of their pencil sharpeners, and they're really nice. I like them. But any electric pencil sharpener I find to have good results with, they don't seem to break my leads like irregular, like the kind you have to turn with your hands. I'm just kind of, as I'm looking back and forth between my photo and the paper, I'm just trying to correct any issues I might have with my drawing. So if you're drawing around an area that's got white feathers, you just want to make sure you kind of don't fill in the area that's supposed to be lighter. I'm looking at the shape. I feel like the shape of the body I might have a little bit off. So I'm just looking back and forth. We've got this kind of area where the feathers meet on the tummy. Now these pen lines we're putting here are going to be dry before we do any of the inking. So they will stay nice and crisp. And I have this tape down on all four sides, so um, it's not going to buckle on us, hopefully. Are people quiet today, Jason? Or are they
Chatting with themselves.
I gotcha.
I need to speak up, apparently.
Yeah, the microphone is closer to me. I probably should have plugged in the external mic. I generally like to keep things simple, but that probably would have been a good idea. We're going to put that between us next time. I'm looking at the negative space between the bottom of the bird and the branch. I can hear our dog upstairs. She's got a bone she's chewing on. I wonder if that's coming through the mic. Probably not. Usually the background stuff doesn't. Let's see. I'm looking at that angle. That angle is pretty much like a horizontal angle at the top of the leg there. So I want to get that in there correctly. And if I have to move the branch, that's not a big deal.
And what paper is this again?
This is the Arteza watercolor greeting cards. These are 100% cotton. You get a pack of 25. I think it's around $26. I also have used the Strathmore and Canson watercolor greeting cards, and those are great too. They're not cotton, but they're wonderful quality. And I get whatever is cheapest between those three brands because the prices do vary. It used to be I could get a pack of 100 of the Strathmore ones for $25, but they have gone up a lot. I think a pack of 100 is probably, if you can even find it, it's probably more like $70 now. That's funny. I wanna know what's funny.
Someone wants to know how we met.
Ah, you wanna tell that story? Gotta speak up.
That could be a whole video.
We met in radio, at a radio conference.
I asked her out and she said no. So I knew she was smart. Someone says, do that video.
I'm putting the little there's like a little knot on the, branch, but I'm moving it out beyond the foot just to crowd it. I thought it looked a little bit better there. We can see a little bit of that talon, back talon coming up. And the replay will be available after the stream, so don't feel like you have to rush. If you are struggling to keep up, or if you feel like chatting and you don't want to paint now, that's fine. Put another little knot over here. And then we'll let our branch get thinner as it gets to the other side of our paper. And we want to get just a little hint of that talon in the back. Can't really see it too well, but all right. I'm going to keep adding some texture and detail with this pen. You can switch to different pens, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to go with a larger one or smaller one, don't go too small though, because we're going to do some ink wash over this, and a lot of really tiny lines would just kind of get disappeared. So when you put details on the branch, think of the branch as a cylinder. And so we're not going to do straight up and down. They're going to curve a little bit if you do any little details like that. And that's going to help you get the shape of your object that you're sketching. Little shadow next to the foot there. Where something touches something else is called the occlusion shadow or occlusional shadow, and that's where you have the darkest area. So where the where the little toes touch the um, branch, that's going to be nice and dark. Regardless of where the sun is, it's still going to be dark. I tend to use kind of scribbly lines when I'm doing things like bark. It helps sell that texture. And it can be like moss or lichen. And I am working pretty quickly, so don't feel like you have to, rush to keep up. I think at this stage, I'm going to go in with a one of the brush pens that are in this set. This is a set of pens by Biennial, and they were just on sale for Prime Day. But I think even at full price, they're a great deal. I think they're generally around $15 for this set of 12 pens. And if you do use them up, they do have a smaller set that has the more popular colored pens. But also, you could get microns in the brown color or the sepia color, and the sizes are pretty closely matched. Um, this is what we're using for the class, and I have been using this same set for over a year, and they haven't run dry, so that's pretty good for a pen. I'm gonna start with the BS, that's brush small. It's the felt tip nib, not the plastic nib. And you're gonna have to work kind of quickly. So make sure your water brush is handy with water in it, or make sure you have a brush and a cup of water nearby before you start this. And we're gonna start putting in our dark areas that we want to wash out. So I'm filling in the eye there to make that nice and dark.
Someone's asked if you have any Derwent or Michael's classes scheduled for the remainder of the year.
I wish I did, but they moved their marketing team to the UK team, and they haven't done any more with their one with Michael since then. So unfortunately, they're no longer doing those classes, and that it was Derwent that hired me to do those classes, not Michael. So I have no like Michael's contact to reach out to. So, but we're doing our live streams here, so I should probably have like a request form to see what people want to see for the classes. I'm promoting my line and wash class this month. But after that, I'll probably be doing more of the kind of grab the random stuff and play with it. Grab some random things on their to be review pile and play with them. But I did enjoy them. So right here, where I kind of added some of the dark and I'm spreading it out. What I'm doing is just trying to ascertain how much I'm going to want to put, how dark it is. Um, I'm gonna have to go darker, but you can always go darker. But once you put this ink down, you can't go lighter. So it's good to kind of get a feel for it before you go crazy and add a ton of this ink everywhere.
This question about the class said you mentioned a couple of times that you will link your fall unsplash board. Someone couldn't find the link? Did
It's
they
in
miss
the
it?
welcome. It's in the welcome lesson in the class. So right in the first lesson, it's just a text link. So I'm keeping my brush in one hand and my pen in the other and just swapping back and forth. No, it's going to look a little bit rough at this stage, so don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And what we're doing here is basically trying to make a black and white photo pretty much. And then we'll add watercolor over it, giving it kind of like a tinted photo look.
Question: have you ever found secret clearance items from Michael's? I just did a 3-pack of microns for 99 cents, down
Woo!
from 9.99. My jaw nearly fell off my face.
Was that on the website or was that in the store? That's wild.
Secret clearance items. You ever seen any?
I have the only good Michael's clearance I've ever been to was at the West Springfield store in Massachusetts one year when the girls and I went down to the stamp show, and there was like Princeton Neptune brushes were clearanced, and it was like 90% off. It was unreal. But that's the only time I've ever had a really good Michael's clearance.
And she said this was in the store.
Oh wow. Well, guys, gotta check out your Michaels, I guess. I want to get out there though because I've heard they have a new sewing section, kind of like it's like a called a Joann's at Michael's because they bought all the Joann's IP. So I've been curious about that. Let's see, we got a little. I'm only putting the pen down where it is actually really dark, like right there, it's really dark, and then I'm dragging it out because I don't want to get in over my head because we are using the white of the paper for our light. Now we do have a white chalk pastel pencil we can use. If there's something like here, like I want it a little bit darker, but I don't really want to go in with a pen, I can scribble on my palette or on my masking tape, and then I can pick up with my water brush. But the benefit of this, and you could also use Inktense products if you have Inktense pencils or blocks. The benefit of this is when I do go over it with watercolor, it is not going to it's not going to move. It's going to stay permanent. So you got to kind of keep that in mind as you're doing it. Whatever you do here is going to remain permanent. Now there is some like cast shadow over the bird. I'm not sure how much of that I want to put in, but I do like how we have a lot of dark tones on the outside of the bird. It's really helping show the volume and the shape of the bird, that nice plump, well-fed round fall chickadee.
Here's a question. Do you ever make a mistake or not like how something turns out, so you turn the paper over and use the back even though the texture is different?
Sure. Especially if it's like arches or a more expensive paper. The most papers are sized up fully, like on both sides, so um, you don't need to worry about using one side or the other. It's more of a personal preference. There's only a few that I know that aren't sized on both sides. Indigo art papers, I think, only does one size, but only does one side. But most are absolutely fine for that. When I'm putting the shadow on the branch, I'm starting at the bottom of the branch and kind of putting a rough edge, and then I'll go in and kind of drag it up. So we end up kind of getting two for the price of one. We get our dark undershadow, and then we can drag it up and add shadow to the rest of it. I try not to work over wet areas. The brush tip markers are more resilient than the fine liner. The fine liners will get ruined if you go over a wet paper with it, but you do have a little bit more flexibility with the brush pen. It's not going to be ruined quite as easily. But if you are using a fine liner, and make sure you're on dry paper. It's tricky when you have to get in and out so quickly, like you do here with this technique.
Someone's asking what these pens are again.
Biennial fine liners. Everything is linked in the video description too. So it'll take you right to Amazon where you can pick them up. Just fair warning, those are affiliate links, which means I do earn a small commission if you purchase through those links. It doesn't cost you any extra, but um,
So get two.
so get you can do a whole painting just like this. You don't have to add any color to it. I'm actually noticing as we work over in the branch, there's some bounced light on the branch. So I think I'm gonna let this branch get a little bit lighter as we come over to the left. Our left, not the bird's left. So make sure you have all your tape pressed down well before you paint up near them, up near there. All right, I'm gonna come back over here. Actually, I think I'm gonna go to a thinner brush, a thinner pen rather. We also have a couple brushes that are a plastic nib, and the plastic nib basically is like a hard plastic nib instead of a felt nib, and it's also a little bit more resilient, and you can press more and get a thicker line if you want to, so it's a little bit more responsive. Make sure your paper is dry though, before you use it. I think it's pretty resilient, but I don't want you to ruin your pens in any event. And I'm gonna go in and put these little tiny pin feathers around the face and down the neck.
Someone's asking, this is what's water soluble ink but dries permanently. They're confused.
Yes, it's a water-based pigment ink. So once it's dry, it's permanent. But if you get to it quick before it's dry, you can smudge the colors. And you can tell when it's dry because if you see right there where it's wet, I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera. Maybe if I bring it up a little closer, it's a little bit redder. And as it dries, it gets more neutral. It gets more sepia. It's a little bit more sanguine when it's wet and a little bit more sepia when it's dry. But when it dries, it's fully dry. And the other thing I like about these pens is that they are permanent on under watercolor marker, and also alcohol marker. So you have a lot of versatility with them. And I like to use watercolors and alcohol markers. So having one pen to rule them all, if you will, works great. And you can do these also with any fine lines you have, whether they're microns, ohuhus, biennios, Pitt, whatever brand you like.
What is your favorite pen and wash subject to draw and paint?
I would say probably still life, which is my favorite anyway. So I like fruit, um, flowers, that sort of thing. Keep wanting to put pen cap on my brush.
Mhm.
I thought it'd be fun to do a bird today. We have one bird in the line and wash class. It's a Canadian goose. And it was a lot of fun to do. But I had a lot more still life type of objects in there. I'm just trying to keep my hand out of the way. That's why I keep moving it. Now here I'm going to layer over, and I'm actually going to move my thing here because I find it's easier to pull a stroke towards you when you're painting or inking. So having your paper either loose or taped onto a board that you can move rather than just taped onto your desk surface is really handy. And I want to define around the eye a little bit. I'm going to spend most of your time doing the inking. We got to add our leaves in too. And if the bird looks a little mangy, you just add a little water and it smooths out the harsh lines that you have. And it'll smooth out when you have watercolor in there too. I do want to get some leaves in there. I'm gonna just let that dry for a second. And I don't need a ton of leaves, but I do like the leaves in this picture. So I think I'm just gonna sketch a few with a pencil, and if I like it, then I will ink them. What's funny? I want to know.
Someone just referred to Canadian goose as a cobra chicken.
Uh,
They're really afraid of those honkers.
it looks like their tongues have teeth on them when you see like a close up.
Cobra chicken.
I'm putting like a little tip of a maple leaf there. And this will give us a nice frame. I like that right there too. Maple leaves are pretty big, and chickadees are pretty small, so that can help us give a little scale too. Oh, I don't like the shape of that. That's not very good. I misplaced my big plastic eraser that I was using for the class. I have no idea what I did with it, but yeah.
What does it look like?
It looks like a big white rectangle. You know how an eraser looks.
You didn't have it earlier?
I had this. I was using this. I always have it. I have no idea where it went. I must have set it somewhere. That's all right. We'll send you out to the yard, find me a maple leaf to trace.
That's it.
No, that's a post-it note.
Oh, sorry.
He's a wise guy. I could tell you where they are, where I have backups in the room of Ford, but I don't know if
Never see me again. I go in there.
yeah, I'm very well organized, but anytime Jason asks me if I have something, I'll say yeah, and I'll explain exactly where it is. in the room of horde, and his eyes just glaze over. It's the weirdest thing.
Mm.
Like, the kids do too, and so I'm like, "Alright, I'll just run down and find it," because I can find anything in that room in, like, 30 seconds. Okay. Oh, I like those little leaves. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That I like that. I think things like in clusters, like 3 work good. Let's go I think I'll go right in with that same plastic nib pen we were using. I don't wanna put too much detail on the leaves because I wanna do that with the paint for the most part. So I might actually end up going to a finer nib. I'm gonna start in with the little stem here. I think I will probably want a finer nib. The main veins anyway with the yeah, I'm gonna go to a finer one that's a little too thick. Because I'm really gonna do most of that with the paint, I'm gonna go with the skinnier nibs, so probably like a point 0.2. And these, caps post, which is really nice because I've lost pens in the past, the caps in the past, where the ends didn't post, and then I end up they dry out because I can't find the pen because it rolled off, the cap rolled off, and then I couldn't cap it up. I do little broken lines when I'm doing the veins, like kind of little lost and found edges that way. We're not putting a ton of detail in there. We don't have to have it drawn really precise. Plus, we don't want to take the attention away from the chickadee. That's what we're spending our time on. So we're just gonna give us something that is passable as a leaf, but not anything that we are totally detailing, just to give us a little bit of background. Okay. I really am gonna need a plastic eraser though. So, well, how about I run to the room of horde and go find it?
Oh my.
What? I can find it. Do you want to time me?
You want me to sketch something?
Sure. Maybe you should do that on a separate piece of paper, though. Draw Jace face for everybody on the post-it
Oh,
notes.
okay.
I'll be right back.
What you want to do is usually you start out with your two eyeballs, like so, and then you give it a nose, and then maybe a nice smile or something like that. I do these a lot. They mostly look like that. Oh, she's back already. Sorry. That's all for now.
You can keep drawing. Do you want to finish it?
Now it's done.
Oh, it's done. Wow, that's quick. I'll put
Find
Jason.
it.
Yeah, I got a couple.
There.
I can put Jason on doing some YouTube shorts. Make some Jace faces. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to hit this with the heat really quick and erase my pencil lines. We'll do a little more inking, and then we will go ahead and do some painting. Any other questions roll in while I was gone?
There was. I just have to get back to it, so get that out.
I like to use the plastic erasers rather than the kneaded erasers because the kneaded erasers, they have a bit of an oil in them, and I'm just afraid it's going to make a resist with my paint. And these white plastic erasers don't mar the surface. They're very gentle, and you don't have to spend much money on these or go to an art supply store. You can find these at the Dollar Tree. Just look for the white erasers. They're made from plastic or vinyl, and they're wonderful. I mean, I'm sure that we're making all these microplastics when we erase, and that's a bummer, but um, your painting will be fine anyway.
There's a question about the 12 assorted size Bienyo sepia fine liner pens. They're out of stock for sale on Amazon, and Amazon just says they're currently out of stock, meaning they aren't sure when they'll get them.
Oh no.
And then it says, question, back in stock. I'm not sure what that means.
It's just they don't know when they're going to get them back in stock. Well, they just had Prime Day, and I have just launched this class, so I'm sure they've had to run on the pens. Um, I they've had these in stock for they've been carrying them for a couple of years, so I think that they'll come back in stock. They do have a set of 8, which would get you through. You know, you probably could be fine with any other brand of sepia fine liners on Amazon. These Banyos are probably white labeled, so I'll research after the live stream. I'll see what I can find. I'll see what has good ratings, and hopefully I can get a nice, something to remind maybe I should order a set, make sure they're good, but probably by then the biennials will be back in stock. But I'll see what I can find. I did see some other companies out there selling the fine liners, so they don't look exactly like the biennials, but I bet they're pretty close. What I'm doing here with a number 2, or you could go with a number 1 if you want, I'm just going in and adding those little, they're just like little round rounded, kind of like the kind of like if you were to draw a bracelet or something around your hand, they've got all these little lines on their legs and toes, but it's kind of just like wrinkles where I think where they're crunched up. I don't know what you would call it, but they're gonna go in a curved line. They're so if you got the leg of the bird here, they're not gonna go like that. They're gonna be curved because you've got a round cylinder. So you want to show it's not a ruler, right? It's like a tube. So we want to show that those curvy lines to show the movement,
Like Big Bird.
like Big Bird. Yes, like Big Bird. Big Bird has those big orange lines. The same idea. So just little curvy lines instead of straight lines. So not like a ruler, like a Big Bird. Okay, and then I want to put some little feathery lines. With a smaller nib, you have to work straight up and down. So I'm trying not to get my hand in the way, but I think what I'll do is I'll just angle this so my hand's not in the way. I want to get these little wispy lines. Now this should be very dark up here on the shoulder, so maybe I'll go back to the plastic nib for that. Again, I'm drawing that line towards me, so it's a little bit easier to do, a little bit easier to get a smooth line. I want a little shadow in here, so I'm going back to the plastic nib and I'm going to quickly grab my water brush and pull the color out. But I don't want to go back over that with that number 2 pen after this because I'll damage the nib. So I got to go to a complete other area when I want to go with this fine liner. And so I'm going over here. This chest is dry, and when I'm putting the lines here, I am going with the contour of the body. So this is contour hatching that we're doing to put the feathers in. We're actually just drawing feathers, but it's a great example for contour hatching. And I'm doing little short strokes because these are little short fluffy feathers.
Have you ever used the Gumber Brat? How do you say that? Gumber Brat?
Gum Grumbacher?
Oh,
Is it
maybe that's
Grumbacher?
it. Have you ever used the clear crayons with your watercolors?
Have, yeah. Sometimes I'll just use a white Crayola, but I have had the Sushiwi ones and the Weber ones before. And actually, I have a hunk of wax in my travel bag that I use for like doing white caps when I'm out and about painting sometimes. It works great. The only downside is it's there for good. Unlike masking fluid that you can remove, it's going to be stuck onto your paper. You can't paint that area once you've added the wax if you wanted to. All right, now I'm going to turn this and I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to turn my reference photo too, so you can kind of see I'm doing these same hatchy marks. Now, the difference between doing your lining before you paint and after you paint is once the paper has had some water on it, it tends to it breaks down some of the sizing, so your pen lines are more likely to get thicker and feather. I mean, not significantly, but it's like if you were using a point 0.3 pen while on dry paper before it's ever been painted on, and then you use that point 0.3 after you've done some watercoloring on it, you'll get a line that's more like a point 0.5 just because there's less sizing in that paper once you have wet it, because you start to break down the surface sizing. It still has the internal sizing, but it's gonna have a little bit less of the surface sizing. I'm just looking at the little shapes that I see the feathers lying, how they're lying and just trying to get what I see there. I don't want to put too much down on the light areas because I want it to stay light, but these pens are going to dry before I can get water over to them anyway, so I don't have to worry so much. Now on the cheek, we have some darker lines. So you might see like you're looking out your window and you see a chickadee. You're not seeing all this because one, they're too far away, and two, they're moving so quickly you can't like break out the detail. But when we have a nice photo like this, we can really see those details, like those really dark. I'll bring it up to the camera a bit, but you can click the link in the video description and see those photos at a better resolution. But you can see um, those little dark. I don't know if it's a skin underneath between the feathers, but we're seeing these little dark spaces, and they're feather shaped because the feather is defining the dark space, the negative space. But just pay attention to the way the feathers lay as you put the pen marks down. Now the beak, I need to refine the beak a little bit because it got a little pointy and it's really got more of a curve. They're tiniest little beaks, and they a little curve, they come to a little point. The bottom of the beak is darker than the top of the beak, so I want to darken that up a little bit. And then any little feathers, just little tiny feathers that stick out around the beak. Don't go too crazy with them, but it's nice to have them in there. And around the eye, you've got this kind of skin. It's got a little bit of a texture to it. You can just kind of see it broken up a little bit. I'm just going around the eye and putting some little lines in that little membrane around the eye to break it up. And I think we've got a pretty good depiction here. Go in and add some more textures on the branch. Now, again, we can do this afterwards. You don't have to do it now. I also feel like I need a little bit of a wash on that leg, but we're gonna do as much as we can with the pen so that when we do the painting, it's relatively easy. Or I'm starting to see the projects roll in from students in my class. It's really nice to see what everyone's coming up with. And because we focus on the water brush in that class, we have a lot of people that have experienced painting but have never got on with a water brush before. So that's really interesting too. And it can be frustrating if you have, especially if you have really nice brushes sitting around, but you're forcing yourself to use a water brush. But it's experience that will help you when you are traveling if you want to be able to travel with less, basically. It's nice to have that ability. The more texture you can put on this branch, the better, because it's going to be a nice contrast from the smooth, fluffy bird. I told Jason I'd probably be done in about an hour. And now we're like a little slower than I thought.
That's all right. What do you mean? You got a whole bird there already? Oh, you're gonna paint it.
Yeah, painting won't take that long though.
I'm free. It's okay.
All right. I think I take a little bit of just do a little bit of a wash on this leg, this foot. All right, I think I want to do some painting now. So what I want is a light background. These leaves a little bit darker, and then we'll do a little bit onto the bird, but we won't need to do too much to the bird. So I'm going to start making sure my brush is clean, just squirting out some clean water, and I'm just going to scooch everything over to the side. So I've got a cap. Oh, I got a pen with a water brush cap on it. There we go. I'm going to start by, let's see, I really like these colors. I'm going to do that for the background, maybe with a little bit of blue in there. So I'm going to start by actually mixing up some puddles of paint on my palette because, as you may know, if you've ever tried to use a water brush for a large area, it tends to take a while and it tends to dry up on you. So what I want to do is grab some colors that I think I'm going to want to use and make some puddles so they're ready to go. So I'm thinking warm colors. I'm gonna grab some, I'll grab some of that red actually. Maybe some of this scarlet. Oh, that scarlet's pretty. Now I do, if I do have like a really dirty brush like this, I will rinse it into some water so I don't have to just squirt out all my water from my brush to clean it. It's just a little bit more efficient. So that's something I'd recommend if you're at home. Get some sap green.
Brittany's asking about the Sakura Pigma Micron fine liner pens.
Yeah, those will work just fine.
Uh, she says archival sepia ink assorted sizes, 8 packs on sale, 1864 on Amazon currently.
Well, that's good. Microns are a good brand. I'm gonna use the cobalt blue, but ultramarine blue would be fine too. I've got sap green. I've got a cadmium orange. I've got a scarlet red, and I've got a cadmium yellow. These are all hues because they're in this Miliang set. This set of paints with a water brush is like $21 on Amazon. Sometimes it's cheaper, like Black Friday. They'll probably be giving these away practically. So this is my number one pick for a student grade set. My brush is a little bit dirty there, but that's not going to make a difference. Um, and I recommend this for a lot of my classes because it's so affordable and it's such a reliable paint. The neat thing about this is that once you use up a color, you could actually upgrade that color. So if you use ultramarine blue up, then you could go and buy an ultramarine from a professional brand and upgrade the colors as you use them. That way you're only spending big bucks on the colors that you actually use rather than buying an expensive set of paint from a major manufacturer and then ending up only using half the colors. Now I'm just trying to drag this water around so that I can get my background wet. I'm only going to do the top side and I am going over the leaves that I sketched because they're going to be darker. So I'm not going to worry about preserving them. I find that a lot of times if you paint around stuff, it'll almost act like it's cut and pasted and it will stand out too much. I want the bird to stand out, but I don't want the leaves to stand out that much.
How long's the sale on the new class running?
Until the end of the month. It's a launch month special, so you have until, well, let's say November 1st, because I don't know if we ended on 31 days this month.
Yeah.
Okay, there. So you have to through the 31st.
Halloween.
Halloween. It's spooktacular. It's a spooktacular sale. It's not really spooky. It's autumny. Okay, so what I'm looking for here when I wet a background for a wet into wet wash is uniform sheen. I don't want puddles. I don't want places that look matte and places that look shiny. I want them all to be uniformly shiny. So sometimes you have to kind of push the water around. Sometimes you have to go and blot up some puddles. But if you have puddles, you're going to end up with back runs, which may or may not be what you want. I'm going to start with just a few breaks of blue. And this is the cobalt blue, and I decided to use the cobalt blue hue because it's a little bit less intense than the ultramarine blue.
Barbie found a big box of koi watercolors in the basement. Are they student grade or professional?
Koi is student grade, but it's not bad. It's not a bad paint. Are they the tubes or the half fans? I wonder. She can get back to us. All right, now I'm going to take a little bit of the green because green and blue, they come from similar, you use blue to make green, although that blue isn't what you make green with typically, but still, they're not going to dirty the brush up. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of green. I'm not worried about this. I can wet that and do that later. When you're trying to do a wet and wet wash and you want it to blend, try to, you got to get to everything while it's wet. So the less you have to fuss, the better. So work in confined spaces if you can. And this is going to be light. It's okay that I'm not putting much color. It's going to dry lighter too than how it appears when it's wet. And I want this to just look like really far away, just muted color.
So Barbie said they're tubes. She's wondering if they're okay to refill pans with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no problem there whatsoever. If they wanna crack a little bit, sometimes that happens when you're refilling with student grade paint, um, and I don't think you're gonna have any problem. You won't have any problem with the class using that paint. You could add a little bit of honey or glycerin to it, and that will it'll kinda draw moisture from the air so that it doesn't crack. But if you live someplace that's really humid, you probably don't need to do that.
Wandering Stars sent you a gift.
Cute. You know who that is? You know who that is?
I don't think so.
Michelle?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be seeing her, in about a week and a half.
She's a wanderer, all
She is a
right.
wanderer.
Uh,
We are getting excited for the Italy retreat. I had this very comprehensive schedule of what I wanted to do before I left for Italy. And then this morning I'm thinking, did Fantasy Lindsay write that schedule or what? Because there's no way all this stuff is getting done before I leave. Even with Jason here to help me, and it's not happening.
She's the one who does most of the planning, isn't she?
What's that?
Fantasy Lindsay.
Yeah. Yeah, she does all the planning. I have to do the executing. So what I'm doing now is I'm seeing little puddles. I like to use a brush to blot. It is a little bit trickier with a water brush. So you got to dry out the bristles and then try to soak up any of the puddles. It works a little bit better with the regular brush because a regular brush does not seep out any water as you're doing it. And a water brush will feed out a little bit in general. Make sure that you are pulling the color right up to the edge of the bird and even overlapping in some cases because you don't want to have you don't want to have a halo around the bird. All right, I really like how that looks. I'm gonna do the other areas as well. I'm just gonna squeeze out some water. I'm gonna wet the area and repeat that same process. Probably would have been smart to do the bottom part first because it would have been easier to get your bearings, get used to it in a smaller space. But I like the saying eat the frog. You do the hardest thing first, and then everything else seems easy. To clean between colors like that, I'll squeeze it water onto my napkin and wipe it. And I kind of work like I'm going around a rainbow or a color wheel. And so I would go to yellow, then to orange, then to red. I started with blue, then green, then yellow, then orange, then red. So I wanted to make sure my blue was crisp like a sky. Now I might just pick up a little bit of yellow with my brush and just fill in here because it's not that much space. I don't really want to wet it and then fill it in because it would just puddle. And if that seems too solid, I can blot it with my paper towel and add in a little bit of something else, maybe a little bit of green. And then we just have this little area over here to do.
Will you ever be hosting an art getaway here in the States?
I would like to. I would like to.
We thought we had a place
Yeah, we
to
did.
do it, but they closed up shop.
It was so bummer because they had said that they had agreed to letting us do the retreat there, but then when it came close to time to announce it, they're like, "Well, hold on a second, we'll get back to you. Don't announce anything." And then we've actually decided to move back to Colorado, and we're selling the business. But I don't know if they sold it or just closed it because I haven't heard anything.
No, I don't know.
Do you think they would have reached out to past clients if they sold it?
Have you ever encountered boreal chickadees? They still have a black cap, then a beautiful soft brown on their body. They're very sweet, friendly little birds. I don't think we have those here.
No,
Never know them.
doesn't ring a bell. Okay. Yeah. All right. I am going to have a drink of tea and dry this, and then we'll keep on grooving. Oh, Barbie asks, would you be interested in the spot 45 minutes south of Washington, D.C.? That's quite a hike. I didn't realize how far away Washington, D.C. was, or Maryland, until I went to teach for Derwent at the Colored Pencil um, Society, and we drove it, and it was so far away. I think I would stick to Maine for a retreat.
It looks like those other chickadees are in northern Maine, but not so much where we are. So we kind of just missing their range. They're in Canada mostly.
Oh, did you get a picture?
Uh, yeah, so
Cute.
just like you said, they got the brown underneath. They're
Super cute.
boreal chickadee.
Almost looks like nuthatch coloring, like a nuthatch and a chickadee
Yeah.
together. Right. So I think on our leaves, we can work on those next. I'm going to stick with the same colors that I have out, except I might make some bigger puddles because we are running low on some sap green. Like I need to refill my sap green. So if like these were my first paints, I would upgrade. If I wanted about the same quality and I just wanted to get the colors I was out of, I could buy Van Gogh watercolors. I would say they're the same quality as the Miele. But if I wanted to upgrade, I could go to M. Graham, I could go to Daniel Smith, I could go to Da Vinci. Any of those brands would be a really good option. So now what I'm going to do is a bit of a controlled wash. And that's where I work on dry paper. And I will tip my paper and I will I'm going to start with one color. I'll start with the sap green here. I better get a little bit more though. I always run out. Oh yes, it's water brush. I can just squeeze. I don't need to dip. And I'm going to start up here at the edge of the leaf. It's okay if these leaves are a little darker than my bird, but I want the background to be lighter. So to do a controlled wash, you are going to make a bead of color and you don't have as much shift between where you start off and how the paper looks after it's dry with a controlled wash. So keep that in mind. I am going to let the green kind of dip into this kind of almost looks like a cow head here. All right, then I'm going to dip into my yellow and I am going to start bringing that down with the new color. I'm just adding that yellow into that bead and I'm bringing it down. You could do whatever colors you want. I'm just trying to stick with colors that I've already used and that would be in these leaves. And because you're always keeping a wet edge, you don't get the back runs.
Michelle thinks you should find out if you have a bunch of RVers viewing, then you could do a getaway at an RV place.
Oh, that would be so cool. He's wanted to go across the country in an RV. Or fantasy Lindsay does. I don't know if how reality Lindsay would deal with that, but I like the thought of it. I'm gonna go in with the red now. I actually think a controlled wash with a water brush is easier than doing it with a regular paintbrush. I think I'll switch back into the yellow now. Well, maybe I'll get some fresh yellow because that's a little bit sus looking. Some orange in there. As long as your shape's not too complex, the controlled washes work really well. Now try to work it so that you don't have a bead of color by the time you get to the end, because that way you won't have color, you won't have a puddle to remove. Because if you have a puddle at the end and you don't remove it, you'll end up with a the back run. That looks pretty good. Oops, I didn't quite get down to the branch there. And then I'm just going to fill in this little area that's dipping below the branch. You could use these techniques if you were a rubber stamper too. If you had like a stamp of a chickadee and you wanted to put a background in. I'll put some details over that, but I'm gonna just go around and do, actually I'll do this over here next because I don't want to go next to that wet leaf there. I think I'll do this one just in red. And probably if I just make one bead of color, that'll be enough to get all the way around this leaf. Just tipping it so gravity will pull the wet edge down so I don't end up with streaks or back runs. So since the water can't run back, I'm not going to get a back run. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Karen says she's always wanted to get an Art V.
Art V, yes. She needs to patent pen. She needs to trademark that name before somebody steals it. I won't steal it though because I have ethics. See, that was easy because it was just a small area. I'll pick up, I'm just going to keep my brush. I'm not going to clean it. I'm just going to grab some yellow on it and do this piece right here. I just realized I'm still wearing my progressive lenses and not my reading lenses that I usually like to wear when I'm painting. I'm going to switch those out right now. Now that we're getting into the nitty gritty.
I hope you still like it.
Oh, this is awful. I was like, thinking, why didn't you tell me? I'm gonna go back to the red here. I'll start off on this guy. I was worried about that when I got my glasses a few years ago when I went to progressives. I hadn't been to the eye doctor in a while. And I was worried that I would look at all my artwork and be like, oh, it's all awful. I'll do this whole leaf just red. 'Cause it's little and why not? How many people do we have watching?
Um,
Oops.
let me see, 203.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a nice little base on everything. And now I'm gonna look at this just to get an idea of the pattern of how I might want some little speckles on the leaf. I'm gonna go with red for my speckles, the same color red. That nice sort of scarlet color. Was it this? Yeah, scarlet, I think. No, it was this one. And just do a little bit of speckling. My paper isn't completely dry, but my brush is the paint is pretty pasty on it, so I don't think I'll end up with any problems. I'm just gonna kind of tap in some little designs, little specks. And the color we have underneath will be a nice backdrop. And if it ends up being more prominent than I want it to be, I can just go in with a wash of yellow over the whole thing afterwards and it will tone it right down. The important thing is just to relax and not freak out if something does not go the way you think it should be going in your art. Because every artist gets that hot mess stage where things just take a turn for the worse and we think it's all over. But it's rarely unfixable. We can usually bring it back
Or flip it over.
or flip it over. That's right. The stem or the center vein, I should say, and the stems too, generally are red. So I'm going to try to get a nice red vein in there.
What do you do if the color's too bright? I missed that.
If I don't like this, if it's too bright after I've painted it, I can do a wash of yellow over it and it will mute. It will mute without making it too muddy. It will kind of make it a little bit orangey maybe. Um, but it will still read as a nice soft fall leaf. You could also just brush clear water over it and it would kind of merge the colors a little bit. Just a little bit of darker red at the edges of this one, just to give it a little bit of variety in color. Actually do a little purple, I'll mix a little bit of that blue that we used into the red. Sometimes you get those just dark patches, but you don't want to use black because it's going to look weird and unnatural. But if you mix, like I just mixed a little of that cobalt blue hue with the red and just kind of made this dark eggplant color, which red is a more natural dark. Could be leaf mold, who knows? Get back to that bright red though, because I didn't do the stem on that one red. There's some redder patches in there too. I use the same palette in the Line and Wash Botanicals class from last year and also the 30 Days to Better Watercolor. So if you were interested in a few classes, it's the same palette that we use for each. So it's you'll get your money's worth out of that paint for sure. I'm just doing some little speckles of the red on this leaf as well, these other two. Now this brush, I did all the classes. I generally will use regular brushes. But I wanted something different for the fall favorites class. I wanted it to be something that people could just pick up and take with them and do in little scraps of time. So I decided to, and I get asked a lot about water brush techniques. So I figured we would kill two birds with one stone or cut two carrots with one knife, as they say, a little more humane saying. I don't know if anyone says that. Somebody told me that in the chat once and I liked it. So, uh, so I don't know if it's an actual saying or it's something that, well, I guess it's an actual saying if somebody said it, um, but I thought that would be a good way to get more use out of our supplies and learn something new. But after 12, actually, it's been more than 12 cards, the 12 paintings from the class. It's starting to get a little bit wear and tear. But this is just the freebie brush that comes with a paint set. You could upgrade to like the Derwent push button brushes or the Pentel Aquash. Somebody told me there's a Mr. Pen set that's like $5 on Amazon that compares very favorably to the Derwent push button set, which I haven't tried it yet. I haven't tried the Mr. Pen set, but I have used other Mr. Pen products and been very pleased with the quality. So something else to try. Now we're gonna do some brown. I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'll go with a burnt sienna because it's got a nice warm tone to it.
When are you going to make a new 30 days painting?
Oh, another 30 days. Oh boy, those are those are a lot to make. Um, I haven't really thought about it. Who's asking that question? Is it Barbie?
Barbie, yeah.
Yeah, Barbie just totally cruised through those two classes. Um, I have not given that much thought. I should think about it. I have no my next two paint classes that I have three paint classes outlined. Um, I don't know if they're going to come out next. The next one's come that I have planned to come out is going to be a gouache class. Um, and it's going to be like, kind of getting into using gouache if you've never used gouache before. So that's my next class. And then I also have a figure drawing class planned, and I do have a plein air class outlined, but that one might take a while to get done because that would be a more involved class. But gouache is the next one on the docket that I have planned, probably for spring next year. The 30 days classes are fun though. They're just a lot of work. Well, all classes are a lot of work, I should say, but I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow ochre to that in the highlighted areas. You could use a raw sienna. Raw sienna is a little bit more translucent, so that does work well with line and wash, but I thought I would use the yellow ochre because I thought it would layer up over my other colors a little bit better. I'm gonna kind of scrub out some of the paint. I got too much paint in there. I lost my highlights. This is a little bit trickier to do with a water brush because you don't want a ton of water, but you do need to scrub. So I'm scrubbing out a highlight basically to give this branch a rounded feel. Okay, I like the way that looks. All right, now we're going to work on the bird. And the bird has kind of a little bit of a little yellowy tone to the stomach, but it's also a little bit gray. So I'm going to do yellow ochre. I'm going to do a little bit of that cobalt blue hue, which actually, gosh, that color, the yellow ochre and the cobalt blue hue makes a really nice gray. Maybe just a little touch of the burnt sienna. So basically, we're doing red, yellow, blue to make a neutral, but they're not perfect. They're not perfect primaries. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That looks really close to what we have there on the side of the body. So I'm going to add the color, and I might even need to go darker. Honestly, it doesn't look very dark. And I'm just going to spread it over the entire belly area.
Brenda is asking, will the gouache class be tubes, pans, or jelly gouache?
Um, it'll be either tubes or jelly gouache. I'm gonna take a little bit more burnt sienna, a little bit more of the cobalt blue hue because I need a little bit darker shadow, and I'm adding that in here. I'll find a good quality, affordable set to recommend, but if you already have like the Inagani set we used for 30 days to better painting, you can use that, or really anything. The set I'd probably use would be the 12 set by Shinhan because it's such a value and it gives you a really good variety of colors.
Blue Daisy says, "Have you seen the Caran d'Ache felt tip water brush? I'm curious how it'll perform compared with a regular water brush."
I have seen it. I haven't used it, but I think that's going to be better uh for maybe I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be more when you want to like blend um like on a stamped image or something small like that. I don't think it would be as good for painting because it's going to abrade the paper. You're going to have, that a certain amount of friction. Like, when if you ever use water-based markers and you try to get a good blend, they don't work quite like watercolors. They're going to want to pill the paper a little bit, and I think that would. Of course, I haven't used it, so I can't say for sure.
Have you ever painted a female cardinal
Oh
and
yes,
posted a video for it?
yes. I don't know if I have a watercolor one. I think I do actually. Yeah, I think I know I have several. I know I at least have a pastel, and I know I have a watercolor one back in the archives.
A female cardinal.
Yeah, bright red. Oh
Oh,
no,
that's the males.
no. You know what? I don't think I have. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking female pretty, but no, the female ones are more drab. Add a little more blue in that mix for or, the white on the face. And let's see, I want a little bit more, I want a blue brown mix for the feet. A little bit more in the blue, though. Their feet have a little bit of a blue hue.
Have you seen the new Sennelier woodless pastel pencils? Would you consider reviewing them?
Yes, I will, and yes, I will. They're already on back order. Who are we kidding? I've already ordered them. I've got bad influence friends. I know I'm your bad influence, most of you guys, but I have friends that influence me as well. I have Shanna Caution Artist Play to thank for that enabling. She has a review out on them.
She's here.
Oh, yay. I need a little more blue in that. I'm darkening up the shadow on the tail. Oh, you know what? I want to keep my palette. I'm going to turn this around so you can see my mixing area, but I also want to have my reference photo in picture. I'm really impressed with how our Epson printer did on that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
not
it's a
bad
pretty
at
good
all.
print. And I just started experimenting with cheap ink because I'm not thrilled with the amount of ink I have to buy for that Epson printer because it's not one of the tankless ones. But
It's a very cheap printer too, so
yeah, so I tried this. It's an Amazon seller, and the ink had pretty good reviews. It was $25 for 4 cartridges, and Easy Ink was the name. And I was skeptical, but I figured it's got a return window. I'll just try it before the return window, and I will send it back if it doesn't work. But it actually worked, so I was very happy. And it actually comes with an instruction thing. It comes with like a support phone number, so you can call them if it's not working. They can help you. So I thought that was pretty good because I used to have we had an old HP, and we had it for the longest time. And I really liked that printer because I found generic ink that was really good for it. But it eventually something plastic on the inside of it broke, and I couldn't bring it back. It wouldn't work anymore.
Soho from Jerry's also has a new set of woodless pastels. You're gonna take a look at those.
I wasn't planning on taking a look at those because I have a set of woodless pencils that are another generic brand, which figure are probably the same. But who knows? I don't know. Never say never, right?
Would the Owen watercolor set 36 be okay for your class?
It's perfect. It's the exact same paint.
Ah, there.
It's the exact same. It's just one of their other trade names that they own. I think they use that brand more for when they're selling to the Eastern market. It's so funny when you get to see, like, how much a lot of these companies produce and own and who they make for. I'm adding a little bit of blue to this branch. It's a little bit too orange. So blue is the opposite of orange, so it's gonna counteract it. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of companies that own a lot of other companies and make products for even more companies. I found out that Phoenix makes 80% of the stretch canvases and canvas panels that are on the market, which I was kind of surprised, but then again, not surprised because I do like their canvases quite a bit. All right, I think at this point, I do need some more darks on the bird, but I think I'm gonna do it with a pen because I think the pen would be just as dark as what I would mix from my palette from colors I've already used. I will try a quick mix of blue and burnt sienna, but I don't think that they're gonna be dark enough to get anything darker than the pens. That's kind of dark. The thing you do have to worry about, or be careful of with this paint is the when you do a really strong mix, is that you can get bronzing, which is when oh, that's pretty dark actually. It's when you use the paint watercolor paint really thickly, and then you end up with this shiny spot because there's too much gum arabic that is coming to the surface, and you get this kind of shiny spot. So you'd have to hit it with some Delling spray or some fixative to get rid of it. That happens a little more often with student grade paint. It happens with all paint, but it's just the amount of gum arabic they have or fillers or whatever they're using to kind of make the paint a little bit more affordable. Because I mean, they can't have the same quality of paint, the same amount of pigments as paint that's, 10 times the cost. It just wouldn't work out. They're a great value, but they're not gonna be, Daniel Smith or, M. Graham or anything. I'm kind of dry brushing here, even though it's a water brush and the brush doesn't really get super dry. I'm just picking up this paste consistency paint off my palette, and I'm just using very, very feather light strokes here, and I'm just overlapping them and just trying to build up some texture, but also fill in the area so it's nice and dark. I don't want to just paint it all with really wet paint because then I would lose all of the lovely feathery texture, and I want my values to be darker. And I like to use this mix of brown of the burnt sienna and the cobalt blue hue because they're colors I've already used. And in nature, you're not going to see pitch black, dark, feathers. Even if the feathers are black, like on a crow, that's not what you're going to see because you're going to have light reflected. You're going to have things like the sheen of the feathers are going to reflect things and make them not look super black. And if you go in there with black, it's going to look like you've got a hole in your paper, basically, because it's going to be too strong, too dark. And also, everything on your painting is gonna relate to everything else on the painting. So if you have something that's super, super black and you don't have anything else that's that dark, it's going to look unnatural. Again, I want to pull the strokes towards me. So I'll just turn my reference photo so you have it looking the same way. I am going to put in those really light strokes again, but I'm just pulling them towards my wrist, towards my body, and I have a lot more control that way. All this building up, all of these layers that we're putting in, the grisaille we started off with, which was the grayscale or brown scale, I should say, the monochrome we started with. It all it all works together to give us this really cute, realistic painting. If you're brave and go in here in the white area and add little flicks of feathers too. If you're not comfortable with that, if that seems a little scary, you don't have to. Take your risks early on in a painting, not at the final stages. It's better to fail fast if you're gonna fail, and then flip your paper over. Just looking for any other little darker details that I see. Look how my brush is very dry. I still have water in it, but it's not feeding out a ton. Just shading here.
How do you keep your water brush from using too much water? Is it because I'm too heavy-handed?
Well, I find that all water brushes have a little bit different rate of flow. Um, if you're not squeezing, like I'm not really squeezing unless I need to get more water. It generally will feed out some water on its own. You could just have a water brush that feeds a lot. I've had some that feed a lot of water. The koi water brushes tend to feed a little bit more. And I've had some that don't feed at all. They just, not until you squeeze the brush. Like the Caran d'Ache ones don't seem to feed it until I squeeze the brush. I have probably the most challenge using the Caran d'Ache water brushes on any other brand for some reason. Other people love them. So, you could just have a fast flowing water brush. You might just want to try a different brand, or a different one could be a different one from the same brand, could be a little bit slower or faster. And it's probably just like I'm a very fast painters. We've worked on this for a while, so it doesn't seem like it, but in general, I paint pretty fast, so I can keep up with the flow of the brush. So you might just need to move a little quicker, or just keep a towel handy to blot your brush on. In the class, we use a chalk pastel pencil for our highlights. It just gives us a softer look than a gel pen. You could certainly use a gel pen or a white colored pencil if you prefer. And we're just going to go through and add some highlights to our picture here. I'm going to start. I left my highlight in the eye pretty well, so I don't really think I need to do much there. I might just add a little secondary highlight. I might add a little bit of detail around the eye just to help draw attention in. A little indication around the nostril. And the chalk pastel, if you don't like it, you can erase it. So that's the kind of nice about that. A little highlight on the beak. Now this is a Nione. This is actually from the Paul Rubens set of 24 pastel pencils, but Nione, they private label them from Nione. So if you can order the Nione ones on Amazon or wherever you order, that might be a good option. Otherwise, General's Pencil does a 2-pack of the white pastel pencils. And I like General's pencils pretty well too. As I'm flicking in some little feathers, I'm going to turn my pencil as I go just to try to keep it kind of sharp. It is not a sharp point, so if you want more detail, you might want to go with a color pencil or a gel pen, but it will give you a more contrasty look. So it just depends on what you're after. If you want more bright, uh, a more bold, bright look, it will look a little less natural, but it depends on what you like. I like a gel pen. I think gel pens are nice, but I also like how I can smudge this out really easily if it's too bright. You can also use a little razor if you're good with a knife, and you could slice out those little bright white details on the feathers. I tend to incur the safety police when I do that, so I'm not going to be using a knife on camera. There's highlight around the tail, but it just looks weird when I do it, so I'm gonna erase that. Maybe add it in from the bottom or something. Right. A little bit of a highlight on the branch, I think. Now in all the lessons in the fall favorites class, there are patterns for all of those. So you do not have to be comfortable drawing, although we do have a draw along lesson in every lesson, and I do hope that you will try to draw along with me. Because if you don't like your drawing, draw on scrap. If you don't like it, then use the pattern. But at least you got the practice in, and it's not going to hurt you to get some practice. Now, something else you can do if you need a highlight, but you need it a different color, you can go in with your pastel pencil. You can add it in like I just did there. Then you can take your water brush and like I want that to be a little bit more ochre. So I can pick up some of the yellow ochre and I can mix it with the chalk that's on there to give it a little bit of extra opacity. It will cover up your lines, so just keep that in mind, but it can help soften things up a bit. And also, if you want to, if you put, say, if you put a highlight, if I put a highlight on this beak and it's, oh, that's way too much, I can go in with my water brush and I can soften it. All right, so let's give this a final dry. We'll see if there's any other little details we want to add in pen, and then we will be done. So if you have any other questions for me, make sure you put them in now so I can get to them before we finish up the broadcast. And hopefully the replay viewers enjoy this as well because there won't be the breaks in the action like we usually have. You have the nice J space intermission.
Right. In case I prefer to use regular watercolor paper, what would you say the Arteza cards are more like hot pressed or cold pressed paper?
They're cold press. Yeah, you could definitely use a sketchbook. Uh, Actually, I'm gonna go with a skinnier pen than that. I don't want to do any big pens at the end. At the end, you want to stay kind of small because you don't want to be making big changes towards the end. You can always make your own watercolor greeting cards too. They've gotten so expensive, needlessly expensive, I think. So certainly can make your own. Or work on a postcard or work on scraps of watercolor paper. And if you want to send it as a card, then mount it to um, some cardstock and use an envelope and mail it off. Sometimes I get to the stage of a painting and I'm just really enjoying it, and it's like I don't want to stop. But you got to be careful when you get to that stage because sometimes you end up overdoing it. All right, I think I'm gonna call that done. And let's take our tape off and see our beautiful frame. A tip for taking the tape off is to heat it with a heat tool if you feel like it's pilling your paper. The heat will make the adhesive loosen up and it's a lot easier to remove. The hair dryer will work just fine too. And also peel your tape off at a 45-degree angle. So like that, it just seems to make less it seems to grab the paper less when you do it that way.
Any advice for doing art for fun? I can't get over this mental block that everything needs to have a purpose.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of people are having that trouble with
yeah.
hobbies and
Yeah. Yes, my big tip would be to get a kit of supplies and keep them right next to where you like to kind of laze around. Like for me, it would be in the living room. I had an art cart. I just set it right next to my table, next to my couch. So whenever I was sitting there feeling bad about being lazy, I would just pick up a sketchbook and some supplies and start creating. And it didn't have to be anything or do anything or have a purpose. One other thing I like to do is go out with friends and paint. So I have a couple friends, they're probably in the chat right now, Karen, Angela, and Shanna, and we will get together, we'll meet up somewhere and we'll just paint. And we don't film, we don't do anything like that. We just hang out and paint, and it's a lot of fun. Because I forgot to finish that little branch there. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard in this culture because it feels like everything we do, we need to optimize um and get the most bang for our buck. And actually I kind of wondered if Jason had made that question up because I tend to do the same thing. There.
Another gift.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Word Madge. Oh my gosh, that was very generous. I appreciate that. Buy the kids a textbook. We get 3 in college, or 2 in college, 2 and a half. One's gonna start this spring, January. But there, I'll probably sign my name down here at the bottom. But I think that's, I think we did a lot with this project because we did a grisaille technique, which is where you work in monochrome and then you layer over the monochrome to kind of save you a bunch of time. It also it teaches you about value versus color, how dark or light something is. We combined 3 reference photos. We combined this one for the bird, this one for the leaves, this one for the background. That's a really important skill to have as an artist because you might not be able to see everything you want to paint with your own eyes. You're going to have to rely on reference photos. And if you can use a few different ones, then it's going to be you'll make something that's a little bit different than everybody else that sees those reference photos, which is really handy. And yeah, we got some painting practice in. We got some water brush and some pen practice in. And I think that's really good to do. So if we don't have any other questions, I think I will wrap the stream up. We good?
Yeah.
All right. Please, everybody, leave a thumbs up before you go. Leave a thank you for Jason. I appreciate him hanging out and taking your questions today. It certainly makes it a heck of a lot easier for me where I don't have to stop and look for the questions. And hopefully, it's a nicer experience for you being able to see, not have to wait around or just watch a blank screen or a blank desk while I try to find the questions. We'll add Jace face to the into the picture.
We'll paint it next time.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Yeah, I think I might take a week off and I'll have Jason do the live stream, do the painting.
Great.
I'll have a voiceover, a tutorial if I lose my voice after Italy. I did not have much of a voice after the French retreat, so I wouldn't be surprised if I come home with no voice from
Right.
Italy. Thank you so much, everyone. There's a link to the new class, Line and Wash Fall Favorites, in the video description. Oh, I'm going to show you a little sneak peek of something I planned to broadcast when I'm away, when we're in Italy. This will be another line and wash project we're going to do using the same materials that we will do for a Whimsy Wednesday. So for the next 2 weeks, we will not have a live stream, but I will set something up as a live premiere so you guys can all hang out with each other and chat like you'd like to on Wednesday, like you always do, and we'll have different projects, but this will be one of them. And this will be a real time one, really easy to follow along with. So there's something to look forward to if you like to do some landscape painting. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions after the stream, leave them in the comments below. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.